Welcome back to the Bait One Trick, and today we're becoming jig head one tricks. The jig head is probably one of my favorite pieces of fishing tackle. It's super simple, direct connection to the weight, makes it super easy. You just put a bait on there and super plug and play. But there's a lot of nuances that we have when it comes to jig head fishing that can elevate your jig head fishing and really make you a one trick with a jig head. And today we're going to stick to just a regular old ball head jig. Like these super rollers for mid-strolling are really nice, but I want to make this simple. The ball head jigs are super easy to find. And when it comes to ball head jigs, there's two that I really like. One is going to be the Kitech super round ball head jig. Only thing with these is that they have a really sharp and skinny hook, so you can bend it out pretty easily. So that's just one thing to remember. But also the Nako jig head, you can find these on Amazon. These are tungsten ones. They come in many different sizes and they're not too expensive. So what are the best ways to fish a jig head? Well, a lot of us know, at least if you've been watching me, you know I love a ball head jig with a paddle tail, like a 3-inch one. This has caught me more fish in here than anything else. However, a lot of people get scared about fishing a jig head on the bottom because they get hung up a lot. And the main reason why people get hung up when they're fishing a ball head jig on the bottom is actually when it hits the bottom, they let their line go slack. You actually want to keep a little bit of tension in your line. When this jig head hits the bottom of the water, if you don't have any slack on it, it's going to start to turn over like that. And if you try to drag it on the bottom after it's turned over, of course, this hook point is going to get stuck on the bottom. And with a jig head, I would recommend actually never trying to drag your jig head like a normal jig because it doesn't have a weed guard. So what I recommend is if you're going to fish a jig head on the bottom, try to hop it off the bottom. So get that thing clearing the bottom fully, or fishing it in the middle of the water column. Also, an I-gel rig. So I don't know if it's A-gel or I-gel, but in Korea, this is the flick shake from Jackal. So you let this fall to the bottom. You can shake it on the bottom, not dragging and not moving it. Just let it shake on the bottom and these arms will go crazy. Or you fish it kind of like a wacky rig, right? So get a lot of action on the fall, and then you can either shake it in the middle like you're shaking a minnow, or you can bring it up, shake it all the way down, bring it up, shake it all the way down. And of course, everyone seems to be talking about shaking a minnow. However, I want to show you that you actually don't need to have a specialized hook for a mid-stroll. This is a little secret, so keep it on the low. But this is the Depths Death Adder. This is actually the soft plastic I used in Korea to learn how to mid-stroll. And we're going to take our normal ball head jig, and when you see this bait, there's a top part and a bottom part. I want this jig head to be as high up in that body as possible. And as you can see, this jig head is really high up there and the hook point is barely coming out. And this will actually help this bait get a really nice rolling action. But this comes a really great mid-strolling option. So definitely this is the year to really dial in a jig head and use it more in your fishing because it's super simple. It's just plug and play. And what are you waiting for? Get out there.